Hey, this is the World Advice Channel 2. What I want to talk about today is the topic of, is Trump a pedophile? So, due to Trump's close association with Jeffrey Epstein and the fact that he's been so unwilling, more like, to release the files on Jeffrey Epstein, for that matter, the real shit, the question obviously comes up, is Trump actually a pedophile? Like, for example, did he actually do the things um that are pedophilic with Jeffrey Epstein? And the simple answer to the question, if I could give an answer to the question, is yes. I do believe Trump is a pedophile. Now, even though, of course, as I said before, I'm a left wing person, I've also said that, despite that fact, I'm also willing to, of course, of course, no surprise, um, you know, um, unbiased sometimes. Well, not unbiased sometimes, but unbiased. When I see things related to politics, because obviously I want to provide the best quality for um, my viewers, as well as just simply getting to the point of the situation that needs to be resolved. And when it comes to the information I've looked up, is using common sense, it's quite clear that Trump probably is a pedophile. And the reason why I say that is, first and foremost, it just comes down to common sense, okay? As we all know, if you've looked up enough about the Epstein files, Trump was once a very good friend of Epstein, okay? So the truth of the matter is, if Trump was a good friend of Epstein, why the hell, you know, with of course his obvious association to him, why is he so unwilling to have the files released? That's a question that obviously needs to be brought up. Why is he so hesitant to have the files released? Okay, especially since you knew him so well, and common sense would indicate if you've known someone so well for so long, you're probably going to know the dirty things about them, because it's just out of common sense when it comes to the laws of logic, okay? If you're a good friend with someone, which they said he was actually a best friend, it means the more time you're going to be around that person. And Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile, and not just a pedophile, but a really, 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 really big one. He slept with a lot of women who of course were underaged. So how could you be someone who's a best friend and spend your time with someone at least like maybe once a week or something, or if not more than once a week on average? Common sense would indicate if you're a best friend, you're close to that person, and have someone create a sophisticated operation like Jeffrey Epstein was doing, with the amount of effort and time and so on and so forth it would have had to obviously take for him to obviously, of course, do that, Jeffrey Epstein, you know, and some way, somehow, with all that time and effort, and specifically time it took, for Jeffrey Epstein to do all that stuff, and you're also a good friend of him, so you spend a lot of time around him. How the hell are you telling me you don't know exactly, of course, um, you know, for crying out loud, that what he was doing behind the scenes? Like, that doesn't make any freaking sense. That's common sense. He probably knew, especially over a long period of time. That's common sense 101, okay? And back to the main point, the truth of the matter is, when it comes to the Jeffrey Epstein case, in all honesty, to be quite honest with you, the truth of the matter is, why is he so unwilling to release it? Because the truth of the matter is, once again, like I was saying before, it comes down to common sense 101. Okay? If you are guilt free of something and you are so completely sure you didn't do something, it's just like being a little kid, okay? You're you you did something wrong and you lie and you try to cover it up. Like, for example, maybe you broke something and you don't want your parents to come in the room, so you come up with excuses, even though they keep on asking you, can I come in the room, when you broke her vase or something like that, but you keep on making excuses. Oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. It's the same thing for Trump, for crying out loud, okay? um Because the truth of the matter is, if he's truly completely free from this type of stuff, why the hell doesn't he let them do a thorough investigation? Just like the whole room thing. Why don't you just let them go in their whole room and check, and check everything? It's the same thing with the files. Why does he let them check all the files? If he's so confident and so certain and so aware that he had nothing to do with the Epstein files, or should say Epstein and his pedophile ring, then why doesn't he just let them in and just look up everything? It's common sense 101. So the truth of the matter is, in short, he probably actually did some of that stuff in honesty with him, or at least he showed up to the places, if anything, and watched the things happen, but didn't, of course, speak out against it. The pedophile based stuff Jeffrey Epstein was doing is common sense 101, for crying out loud. Because if he was so um confident, that he had absolutely nothing to do with the stuff, or in other words, just straight up, he's not lying. He had absolutely nothing to do with Epstein and his pedophile ring. Then just release the stuff already, release the files and put it out there. Because you want to know why? Because he is simply lying. He's simply lying. Just like the whole thing he also said as well, to add to that as well, which absolutely makes no sense, is that why are people so obsessed with Epstein? He was this and that and blah, 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 blah. That's what Trump said. But at the same time, you're not taking into consideration the truth of the matter is that it's already a public fact that he knew a lot of very powerful people who were pedophiles who actually passed, a rule by paying people to not have their names released. Okay? If the general public knows this, you think the most powerful person in the world can't have advisors who tell him that? You want to know why? Because he's straight up lying. He knows the Epstein case is important. He just doesn't want the thing to be released because he is, of course, scared. He doesn't want the whole file to be released. He knows he had something to do with it. Most likely it's not even a case of, okay, he was just in attendance at a place. Most likely he probably did do this stuff. So in short, yes, Donald Trump probably is a pedophile, to answer your question. If you're so interested and curious about this whole thing. So if there is anything else to say for this video, the simple truth of the matter is Trump is a pedophile. So if you are interested and curious in knowing if he was one, truth of the matter is he probably is one, in all honesty. Most likely. There's no certainties for anything in life, but most likely he probably was a pedophile, if anything. Besides, in the end of the day, if there's a lesson to be learned from this whole story, if there is one, it just goes to show you why you shouldn't see anyone in the world as some sort of hero, especially nowadays, who's going to come and save the world. Because all the people who run the world and are in positions of power, in other words, are all in this weird shit. And the truth of the matter is it's now being released and the world is finding out this type of stuff, and we're realizing the world is run by creeps. And since the only people who tend to get promoted anyway, in other words, put out there for the whole world to see are people in positions of power, the truth of the matter is, they of course are people in power. It just shows you why you shouldn't see anyone as someone who's going to liberate the world, because they're all in on this stuff. This whole world's a freaking scam, and specifically on the right-wing side, it's even worse. So anyway, this is my video. This is all I have to say. And simply put it, if you enjoy this video and videos like this, remember to thumbs this video up and hit the subscribe button. And this is all I have to say. And simply put it, I'm out. So bye.